So I have this camera and I have this camera. I have this lens and I have this lens. Then I have these headphones and I also have these headphones. I like my music, I like good sound, but I also like the ideal headphones for the given situation. These are my main go-to ones and I've had these for a while now. These are the Sony MH1000 XM3s. That name easily rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Top end, noise cancelling, what? Bluetooth headphones offering fantastic sound but not cheap and a bit too cumbersome for doing my morning jog. Alright, my morning walk. Now these Sonys are ideal for listening to music at home or when sitting on a train on a long journey, for example. So to complement these, I also have these in-ear earphones. These are made by Beyerdynamic. They're not noise cancelling, though being the in-ear type, they do offer some passive noise cancelling effect, and they're not Bluetooth either, fully wired. They don't sound quite as good as the Sonys, but they were a lot cheaper, about a fifth of the price in fact. But more importantly, they are a lot smaller. They're lighter and therefore convenient to carry around. They're much more ideal for when out and about, and therefore they're great for my morning jogs. Walk. So that's the difference between the two headphones. Sound quality being the main thing, one sounds superb whilst the other is, well, pretty good. Now I only know that the cheaper in-ear type are only pretty good because I've heard the other ones, the Sonys, that sound superb. I have a comparison. However, when I'm out on my morning run, my morning walk, they too sound superb. They sound superb because they are small, compact, lightweight, discreet, and they fit in the end pocket of my camera bag when not in use. They sound superb because I have no comparison. They sound superb because these are the only ones I have with me at the time. I'm happy to take them out every time. I'm not tempted to leave them behind like I am with the Sonys. I have no comparison when out, and therefore these are superb even when I do remember what the Sonys sound like. But any comparison is gone within 10 minutes of wearing them on my second lap of the running track. Okay, just past the local shop. So that's me making a comparison obsolete, unnecessary. There's no need for it basically. I'm taking it out of the equation. So that's a basic comparison, and I want to talk about whether comparisons are a good thing or a bad thing. Can they in fact be both? I want to compare if comparing can be a good thing we should all do. You see what I did there? Or is comparing the most detrimental act? And I guess that depends on what you eventually take from that comparison. The most common comparisons we do in photography is comparing other photographers' gear and other photographers' work. So in photography, comparing can often leave us feeling disheartened, jealous even. And if it's comparing our work, in the worst case scenario, we may even end up thinking, what's the point? May as well give up. You been there? Okay, we need to change that. That's not using comparisons in a good way, but comparisons can be used positively. So we need to look at why we are comparing, and if we are comparing, how can we make sure that is a positive thing, a useful observation. So the internet is awash with great images. Social media on all platforms is full of amazing pictures, as are photo magazine, yeah, they still exist, books, and of course those yearly landscape photography competitions. Those images, the winning images in the photo competitions, always come under scrutiny, and the usual comparison is usually, well, I could do better than that. How the hell did that win? Well, that's all photoshopped. What were the judges thinking? Okay, that's allowed. We're allowed to be bitchy as photographers at least once a year. So we look at pictures probably similar to ours, similar subjects to what we shoot, similar locations that we go to, and we see some other photographers' versions, some worse in our opinion, but of course we also see better versions. We naturally compare our own work with those of others. That's okay. It's okay to compare, but sometimes you shouldn't. That's their work. You shouldn't want to be them or take pictures like them. You should do what you do and be happy at that. That's the comparison, and of course the negative side of comparing may not be something that affects you. Hopefully you look at those pictures and think, yeah, they've done a good job there. Not as good as mine, of course, but yeah, not bad at all. But maybe you do want to take great pictures like those and you're currently failing at that. And that perhaps gets you down. But remember, you're on your own journey. You're getting better at your own pace. So it doesn't really matter if other people's pictures are better than yours. They may have been doing their photography for much longer than you. You have to learn and develop and get better at your own pace. You need to get your own pictures, create your own style, and get as good as you can be. And it doesn't matter if that's never as good as the next photographer. Photography is your hobby, your interest, your art, the thing that gives you pleasure. And your pictures can only be as good as you can make them. You can improve, of course, you can get better, but that still may mean you'll never be as good. But who cares? Who cares? Don't put yourself down. There's always a chance that this person isn't a better photographer than you, in fact, but instead just better at Photoshop than you. That is one key factor with digital photography, but I suppose that's for another topic and another video. As long as you work hard at your photography, work hard to be as good as you can be, that should be enough. And if you can take pictures that please you, that should be enough too. There'll no doubt be other photographers who wish they could be as good as you. Imagine how they feel. So I'm quite happy with my photography now. I'm still learning though, still trying to improve myself. And I too started out pretty rubbish. It took me a while to learn how to take a good photo. I like my pictures. They please me. And if there's any results of mine that you don't like, that won't change my opinion of it. I still love it. It's not really for you, it's for me. You're just lucky I let you see some of them. So how does this work with photography equipment? Well, we always want the best gear we can afford. Or in other words, we always want the latest gear. The latest camera, the newly released lens. Well, not all of us do, not if you're very sensible and you don't have that mindset, though you still probably want it, don't you? We naturally desire things we don't have. Having the latest camera with all the bangs and whistles is not, I repeat, not going to make you a better photographer, not going to let you take better pictures. Who's thinking like this? Go on, put your hands up. It's not, you know. Stop. Stop thinking like that. I'll wait. You stopped? Okay, this camera then, the X-T5, has not made me a better photographer since I got it. I'm no different a photographer than I was when I shot with Olympus or Canon before that. The quality of the image may be better with any new kit, often that's debatable. Bigger file sizes maybe, a new lens may be sharper, yeah, but the quality of the art, the interpretation of the scene you shoot, won't improve. If you can't do justice with your subject with, say, your old kit lens, don't think that a new super expensive zoom lens is going to be the answer. If you do want to buy yourself any useful bit of equipment, get a new louder alarm clock to get yourself out of bed earlier and make use of better light. Now that will improve your photography. So appreciate the kit you have before you go spending. Upgrade when you have used your current kit to its absolute limit. So you upgrade your gear when you upgrade as a photographer. So if you are out with your basic kit lens, just like I am with my cheap in-ear earphones, remember that this is the best lens in the world, simply because it's the lens you have with you. You don't have any other choice. Therefore, you haven't got any comparison, and that lens will get you the best results at this moment in time. It may not be the sharpest, offer the greatest range, or have the fastest aperture, but make the most of that lens and enjoy using the lens for what it is. Enjoy its limitations and try to get the best results with that lens. Make it proud that it can do a good job. Now, I often grab this smaller 23mm f2 Fujicom lens instead of the larger f1.4 version because it's a lot smaller and lighter. It's better balanced on the X-T5. I prefer using it, to be honest, and at the apertures I usually shoot at, those mid apertures, it's pretty much identical to the bigger, faster lens. Without the f1.4 version, I'd have no comparison. Without looking at the images side by side, I have no comparison. I never take the same picture with both lenses, and therefore there is no real comparison. And the f2 lens is otherwise perfect and captures the perfect result. If I show you a picture, you'd never know which lens I took it with. You'd have no comparison. In everyday situations, you never have two versions to look at side by side. The same with your camera. The best camera, they say, the ideal camera, is the one that you have with you. That top of the range, flagship, full frame, mirrorless model may be the best camera out there on the market, but it's currently sat there in the camera shop window and not in your camera bag. Therefore, that currently makes it the worst camera in the world. So don't think that your bottom end budget model is in any way inferior. It's a camera in the end. One just happens to be an all singing, all dancing wonder machine, but in the end it's just a box with a hole in it with a lens attached that can capture images of the outside world, or inside. Take away the gizmos, the fancy features, most of which are useless and you'll never use anyway, and it's just a box that can take pictures. It's exactly the same as the current one in your hand. If your current camera can only capture 12 megapixel images, what will this new comparative 48 megapixel camera give you? Well, the same 12 megapixel results with 36 megapixels to spare. Spare or even going to waste. That's practically any camera on the market right now, top end or low end. They're all getting more megapixels. Progress is saying you need more. Camera manufacturers are saying you need more. But I'm telling you, you don't need that. And I think you know that too. So again, comparisons are fine. Comparisons can be good. Comparisons can be used as incentives, but upgrade your equipment as you upgrade as a photographer. Otherwise, it's like buying a brand new 8K television and only watching standard HD TV or standard Blu-rays on it, which most of us probably do. Now, are you one of these photographers that is always comparing your locations with others? Don't have that scenery near you, do you? You can't afford to trek off to Iceland on a whim, and you live hours from the nearest coastline. If only you had mountains where you lived. Have you noticed though with other photographers how their beautiful images always seem to be taken in beautiful locations? I doubt they would ever photograph where normal photographers live, and they would never want to come to your local location. Your location shouldn't be seen as inferior though. Don't compare it. Instead, those other photographers who would never dream of coming to your local area perhaps should be seen as lacking imagination and vision. They're glory seekers, if you like, who can only take pictures in stunning locations. They don't have the creativity to shoot somewhere more bland. So my nearest dramatic landscape is the North Yorkshire Moors. It's a difficult landscape to photograph in its own right, despite its beauty, but it's also a landscape that is often compared to the nearby Yorkshire Dales. The Dales are prettier and I think easier to photograph, but the Moors encompasses the coast, the North Yorkshire coast. You can't compete with that coastline, but the rest of the Moors is a lot trickier to capture. Well, my local landscape is just outside the boundary of this national park. It's all within that white area on an Ordnance Survey map. You know, those areas designated as non-areas of natural beauty. Yet I love my local landscape, and as a landscape, it's brilliant. I feel really lucky to have it close by. Compared to the Moors, it can't compete, but I can walk to my local landscape, whereas the Moors is at least half an hour drive away. So the Moors can't compete with that convenience. But despite that, no other photographer would come and visit my landscape, not when the Moors and coastline is so close by. That's where you get all the glory shots at the coast, shots that make them photographers look good. That's where they go. So I could compare landscapes, mine and the Moors, and then never take a single image of my local landscape because it isn't the Moors. And many photographers think their own nearest locations are like mine, flat and boring compared to the mountains and dales of elsewhere. But I spent the coronavirus lockdown shooting my local landscape, partly because I had to, but I loved it. I stopped comparing and appreciated what I did have. Now, of course, I'm often inspired to visit more glamorous locations to shoot, often based on other photographers' results taken there. But I always approach it to see if I can make it into something more of my own. So I will look at those pictures taken by others. I will appreciate them for the aesthetics, the composition, the light, the impact the image has. Those results inspire me, but I always want my pictures to be different, and I wouldn't want a photographer to recognise my result as having been inspired from theirs. I hope my interpretation is individual and unique enough and not a blatant copy. It may be better, it may be worse, but it's my version. I don't want the same as they have taken. Therefore, I only take admiration and inspiration from their result, and then take my own version. That's using comparisons in a positive way. Comparisons then should not exist in your photography if they in any way knock your confidence or prevent you from doing your photography. The only comparisons should be ones used to better ourselves. That's the only comparison we need. We're not even comparing comparisons now. So I hope you enjoyed that little chat. Hope you enjoyed the video. How does it compare with any others you may have seen on YouTube? Hey, go on, get out of here. What are you lot like?